Oh no, I've just learned about a new danger terrorizing my community. According to a local paper, the Bay Area Telegraph, local trauma medics share concerning update on serious e-bike injuries. This is doubly concerning for me because not only do I live here in the Bay Area walking around just enjoying not being injured, but I also own and ride an e-bike. The article references a press release from John Muir Health in Walnut Creek, California, in which the executive director of the Trauma Acute Care Surgery reports, over the past year, our trauma team has treated double the number of injuries to e-bike and e-scooter riders, as well as pedestrians hit by them compared to the previous year. This is an alarming trend. All right, guess that's it. Party's over. I have to get rid of the e-bike. And I can't just sell it because then the danger would persist. The only solution, obviously, is to slowly lower it into a vat of molten steel. Okay, I already know I'm going to get a lot of angry comments from a variety of directions for this video. Cyclists who hate e-bikes because they think they're cheating, drivers and pedestrians who hate e-bikes because they think they encourage annoying and unsafe behavior, and teenage boys who love e-bikes because they're annoying and unsafe cheaters. The surgeons at John Muir aren't alone in sounding the alarm over the dangers of e-bikes. Earlier this year, the American College of Surgeons released a statement affirming a few things. Over 20,000 people are injured while riding electric bicycles annually, with approximately 3,000 individuals requiring hospitalization, and this is likely underreported. The rate of electric bicycle injuries is increasing annually. Electric bicycle injuries are more severe than their manual bicycle counterparts, and head injuries occur most frequently, and only a third of injured patients are reported to wear helmets. They go on to call for federal regulations that would establish laws and safety regulations that don't vary state by state and can adequately protect everyone, especially the teenagers and preteens who seem to be the most at risk of injury. I agree with all of that, sort of. The thing I disagree with is the continued use of the phrase electric bicycles or e-bikes, because we don't actually have any data to show that the majority of these injuries are due to e-bikes. These are, in fact, mostly the worst of the injuries, especially caused by electric motorcycles. And every time the press or regulatory bodies or cops or doctors call them all e-bikes, they make us all less safe and less healthy. So yes, I have an e-bike. I got one when I moved here to the Oakland Hills, and I found that I could no longer simply bike to the grocery store when I needed something because I couldn't get home dragging panniers full of food up a mile of 20-degree hills. I had to drive, which seemed silly and wasteful. So when I found a cheap e-bike on sale, I snagged it thinking, okay, if I actually do use this, I'll eventually upgrade to something better. And I didn't just use it, I fell in love with it. First, I just used it to tool around the hills a bit because back then I wasn't a good enough climber even without the groceries and the panniers. And once I built my legs back up, I was able to tool around the hills, so I switched to doing that on my regular bike. After that, the e-bike was used mostly for replacing the car, the grocery store, the post office, and even getting my dog to trailheads a few miles away to go for hikes. He rides in a backpack. He loves it as much as I do, possibly more. And my husband, who doesn't ride a bike as often as I do, uses the e-bike sometimes to accompany me on rides that he wouldn't enjoy going on without the battery. When I get home from these bike rides, I charge my bike using my solar panels, setting a timer so it turns off when it's powered to reduce the risk of fires or things like that. And so, yeah, I get all of this mileage basically for free. You can see why I'm not really swayed when serious cyclists tell me that e-bikes are just for lazy people who don't want to put in the work. I am now, I think, a serious cyclist, and I don't know that I would be if I hadn't have been able to start with the e-bike. And now the e-bike does not replace my regular bike, it replaces my car. Thanks to the advocacy group People for Bikes, there are 3 official categories of e-bike. There's Class 1, a bicycle equipped with a motor that provides assistance only when the rider is pedaling and that ceases to provide assistance when the electric bicycle reaches 20 miles per hour. There's Class 2, where a bicycle is equipped with a throttle-actuated motor that ceases to provide assistance when the electric bicycle reaches 20 miles per hour. And Class 3, a bicycle equipped with a motor that provides assistance only when the rider is pedaling and that that ceases to provide assistance when the electric bicycle reaches 28 miles per hour. My bike is a class 2. A lot of people think that the biggest problem with e-bikes is the throttle because it does technically allow someone to ride around without pedaling at all. Personally, I love having the throttle because it allows me to start pedaling after I've stopped while facing up a steep hill where normally I would have to do a U-turn. And it also gives me a jump when I'm stopped with cars at a red light that then turns green. A lot of injuries happen to cyclists when drivers don't see them or get frustrated at them reacting slowly to a green light at intersections. So I genuinely think that the throttle is a helpful safety feature as someone who rides often in heavy traffic. But I do get it. If a person only uses a throttle, it's not really a bicycle, is it? And that brings me to e-motorcycles. The real problem, in my opinion, and the opinion of people for bikes, is that e-motos are lumped in often with class 1 through 3 e-bikes, but they are wildly different. Manufacturers know that they can make money selling motorcycles that look like e-bikes, so buyers, usually younger men, teen boys, can get away with riding them without proper licensing or without following regulations. E-motos can hit much higher speeds, like up to highway speeds, but because the manufacturer slaps some fake pedals on them, they look like bikes. Sometimes. Like, if you actually ride a bike, you can see an e-moto from 1,000 miles away, but somehow the authorities and general public remain confused about this distinction. The worst part is that some manufacturers make and sell something that is technically an e-bike, but they offer easy mods for a buyer to increase the power and remove the speed limit. Some of them are even sold as having different modes, like you can have it as a bike or a motorcycle, which is very much not legal. Again, if you know what you're looking at, it's pretty easy to spot one of these, especially in motion. But if you don't, well, you don't. And so you see a gang of teen boys rampaging down the sidewalk at 40 miles per hour on something kind of quiet with pedals. And when they hit an old lady and send her to the hospital, that becomes another statistic against e-bikes. And that's bad because we desperately need solid federal regulations about e-motos. The manufacturers, importers, and sellers of these mopeds are lying to consumers, convincing teens and preteens that it's a cool toy to play with, and convincing parents that it's safe and normal. I actually see a lot of overlap with car manufacturers. I recently watched this excellent video from the channel Not Just Bikes that describes the reason why giant SUVs have taken over US and Canadian roadways. And the simplified answer is because car companies wanted to avoid regulations on emissions and safety. SUVs are considered light trucks, which have lower standards to meet on both of those metrics. And so the result has been that we are all in more danger of being killed by ridiculously oversized vehicles that no one actually needs, just so these car companies could make more money. On a personal note, my husband and I share a 20-year-old Honda Civic, and we've been wanting to buy a good electric car for, when it needs to be replaced. It never needs to be replaced. It's a Civic. It's going to outlast us all. But, when Rivian debuted, their marketing was perfect for us. Like, yeah, we love to go camping. We would love to bring bikes and surfboards and scuba gear to places. And so we looked at what they were offering, and it was only a giant fucking child murdering SUV. They also had a giant truck. Then they eventually announced a slightly smaller SUV. But at the same time, they teased that the next car after that, sometime in the next 5 years, hopefully, would be something the size that normal people would actually need. I may be in a bit of a bubble, but everyone I saw talking about it online completely melted down over the idea of that last one, the smallest one. But we had to wait. I assumed at the time it was because there's a larger market out there that wants the Child Smasher 4000. But after watching Not Just Bikes video, I realized that it may be more insidious than that. Maybe it's that the Child Smasher 4000 doesn't have to show that it won't smash a child in a crash test. And so that's easier to bring to market, even if the Child Smasher smashes children in crosswalks too. Anyway, car manufacturers ruined cars and made our streets less safe because they knew that they would make more money by avoiding regulations and selling idiots a fantasy about how cool they'll look driving a tank around the suburbs. And now motorcycle manufacturers are doing the exact same thing. Motorcycles and mopeds are dangerous enough as it is, but the people who ride them used to be expected to pass tests demonstrating their knowledge of the law and their ability to safely handle the machine. That's a huge barrier to entry, especially for teens and preteens who think they're indestructible and just want to go zoom, zoom, zoom now. So these completely unethical manufacturers are using a loophole to print money, and they don't give a shit about who gets killed because of it. As much as I want those manufacturers stopped, I also don't want their lack of ethics to negatively impact the growing industry selling actual e-bikes. I've already described how I use my e-bike to replace my car, but it's an even greater impact than that for me because, when my husband and I moved to this neighborhood, we had to have a serious conversation about whether or not we should get a second car because we are surrounded by steep hills with no sidewalks and no bike lanes. And we had to figure out if we could make one car work, especially when my husband had to return to the office. Sure, there are grocery runs and stuff, but you can schedule those for the weekend. What about an emergency? What about a wildfire or a mudslide? Not only is the e-bike ready and waiting alongside Indy's backpack, but I would actually be way less worried about needing to get through heavy traffic on our tiny curvy streets, or even to go off-road and cut through parks if I have to. It's honestly a perfect vehicle for a ton of situations that I could conceivably find myself in. And I'm not alone. Loads of people are in similar circumstances as I am. Loads of people would bike to work instead of driving if they could do it without sweating so much. Loads of people have disabilities or limitations that make riding a regular bike impossible, but they would get their freedom and their joy of riding a bike back with an e-bike. And so I don't want to see these super efficient and fun car replacement machines vilified every time some jackass crashes a motorcycle with glued-on pedals. So please make sure you distinguish between e-bikes and e-motos, support common sense legislation like those proposed by groups like People for Bikes, and for God's sakes, don't buy children motorcycles from Instagram ads, and wear a helmet. Please wear a helmet. And on that note, this seems like a good time to announce that despite always wearing a helmet, I have lost my actual mind, and I've once again signed up to do a climate ride. In May of 2026, I will be riding my regular non-electric bicycle all the way from San Francisco to Los Angeles in order to raise money for Bike East Bay. If you have some extra cash lying around, I've linked to the fundraising page in the transcript. If you don't have extra cash, that's fine. Just leave me the occasional YouTube comment reassuring me that I can do this. Yeah, I can bike 473 miles in 6 days, despite being at my least healthy I think I have ever been. Yeah, I almost died doing a century last time, but, that was then, this is now. Oh God, what have I done? Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you loved the video, please subscribe. And if you think the world could use more videos like this and you happen to have a few bucks laying around, head to patreon.com/Rebecca and join an awesome community of nerds like the people whose names you see on the screen right now. Thanks.